The term culture originates from the Latin word cultivate. Communities are generally made up of people who share cultural characteristics. These cultural characteristics are defined by various influences, including geographical, spiritual, and agricultural considerations. Certain cultures impose distinct limitations or boundaries that make them unique. The purpose of this program is to introduce you to the most interesting and unique cultures from around the world. Mauritius lies in the Indian Ocean, 2,000 kilometers southeast off the African coast and some 900 kilometers east of Madagascar. It is an island that is lush all year round. It is also endowed with breathtaking nature and boasts some of the world's loveliest beaches which sit in front of crystal clear waters. It is often referred to as the land of burnt faces, a name derived from ancient Greek words from which its name stems, Ethiopia. Its capital has a name no less poetic, Addis Ababa, which translates to a new bloom. Sadly though, this African country never blooms. Even so, it has genuine appeal as well as a rich and mysterious history. It is said that God first created Mauritius and only then, inspired by its beauty, created paradise. At least that is what the locals claim. To be precise, they say that is what the American writer Mark Twain wrote. The inhabitants and tourists are eager to agree with this saying. The island state of Mauritius is part of the Mascarene Islands. It is surrounded by a dangerous reef which guards its secrets. The mystical-looking Lion Mountain was first sighted towards the end of the 16th century by Dutch sailors. They severely exploited the island only to turn it over in the 18th century to the French. After the Napoleonic Wars came to an end, control and rule of the island came to the British. Today, Mauritius is an independent democratic republic. Its peace is safeguarded by a statue of Swami Sivananda, the yoga guru. The British did not seek to impose its influence on the island. This is one way to explain why the French language maintained its dominance. The British influence is clearly evident in one respect, as seen here on the streets of Maibor, left-hand side driving. Two-thirds of the inhabitants on Mauritius are of Indian descent. This fact is apparent in the goods sold in the Maibor market. Fresh goods are available for sale on a daily basis, including dried fish, which tastes delicious if you can get past the smell. Since vegetation thrives on the island, the dominant Indian cuisine is largely vegetarian. It is sometimes said that should you stick a rake into the ground, come morning, it will be in bloom. In Mauritius, all selling and trade in general is left to the men. You will only see men working in the market doing all manner of tasks, or just wandering about. Many of the items sold here are purchased for less than anywhere else in the world. Items such as tuna, mutton, baguettes, basil, garlic, even flowers, you name it. And some man will sell it to you, but not before a serious haggling over the price. Model boat building is another activity left strictly to men. Here we are at the Cure Pipe Workshop. This is where we can admire beautiful replicas of famous historical battleships that once cruised the Indian Ocean. Similarly, as in an actual shipyard, there are skilled specialists here for each and every aspect of the boat. Deckmasters, sailmakers, keelmakers, etc. The price of the models reflects this level of specialization. There are cheaper workshops in Cure Pipe. This one belongs to Mr. Lip Zhang. He has created a replica of the ship Saint Geron. built in the shipyards of Mauritius. Check out the harmony of skilled hands. The fact that the vast majority of the island's population are the descendants of Indian immigrants explains why over half the population are followers of the Hindu faith. The tradition for celebrating the Great Night of Siva, Mahashivaratri, calls for the faithful to meet up at the mysterious lake Grand Basin. Over 600,000 gather here to pray and sing under the watchful eye of the statue of their god, Siva. Hindus believe that this temple saw the creation of the world, the only temple of such importance outside India. They are convinced that here, miracles happen and wishes are fulfilled. It must be noted that they do not come to take, but come bearing gifts of fruit, sweets, and even money for the ancient gods. The temple is unique in that everyone is welcome regardless of their faith, language, or race. On Mauritius, you don't need any more reason to celebrate than the realization that you live or are visiting such a wonderful country. Not everyone is so fortunate to live or visit a place like this. The locals are well aware of just how lucky they really are. The people gathered here are celebrating the birthday party of a politician who fought fiercely, yet peacefully, for the country's independence. Though he died a long time ago, his people have never forgotten him. They love him so much, T-shirts featuring this man are in great demand. The tradition on Sunday afternoons for some 20,000 Mauritians is to stop whatever they are doing and head for the racetrack. The origins of this national sport are rooted in the time of British rule and occupation. The Mauritian Jockey Club, the oldest jockey club in the Southern Hemisphere, and the second oldest in the world, was established in 1812. The featured race is underway. The tension in the lodges and on the packed tribunes is palpable. Those watching the races on TV or listening on the radio are just as excited. Had there been meteorites or a tsunami headed for Mauritius just now, no one would take any notice. All life has stopped for an instant. And then, the race is over. Bets are paid out, cups are handed over. The day comes to an end, when the beautiful island dusk takes over, creating breathtaking formations in the sky. It is time for Sega dance. The original purpose of the dance was to aid African slaves working on the sugar plantations to forget about their daily hardships. At night, they lit fires on the beach, danced around them, and for a while felt free. Today, this music unites all the islanders, regardless of their faith. And through its naturally erotic temperament, it expresses their joy of life. Goodbye, island of many scents, harmony, dreams, and love. The pearl of the Indian Ocean. Our travels now take us to a country struggling with poverty, yet rich in tradition and history. According to the Ethiopian calendar, the country of Ethiopia is 7 to 8 years behind the calendars of all other countries that use the Gregorian calendar. Looking closely at the poverty and turmoil of this stricken country, it seems Ethiopia got off the timeline during the Middle Ages. Despite being one of the poorest countries on the planet, Ethiopia has reason to be proud of its past. Ethiopia is the only country in Africa that remained non-colonized up until the Second World War. It was briefly occupied by Fascist Italy from 1937 to 1941. An obvious example of the disparity between Ethiopia's rich history and cruel present is the city of Aksum. 2,000 years ago, this area was known as the Kingdom of Aksum. The only luxury available to all Ethiopians, without exception, is time. There is no rush, albeit in a way that would seem different to most people. Infrastructural services function very well here. Here, you will find tailors working directly on the streets, and public transportation literally running on time. An important aspect of local etiquette is the greeting. When people meet, they always ask of the health of the other's family, extended family, and even their livestock. And the more connected the greeting people are to each other, the more they will include touching as part of the lengthy greeting. While the best-known Ethiopian sportsmen are still their long-distance runners, soon we may hear of some world-class Ethiopian table tennis players. Table tennis is becoming increasingly more popular in Ethiopia. It is fascinating how the local women, despite the oppressive poverty, maintain a graceful posture and walk with great elegance, often accompanied by a fashionable parasol. For others, the paper cap will have to suffice. An important accessory and a source of information are the earrings. If the woman is wearing her earrings in the upper part of her ear, she is a widow who wants nothing to do with men. On the other hand, girls with headbands are on the lookout for men. Married women wear no jewelry. Maybe they don't want anything to distract them from caring for the husbands. Everything is a little different in Ethiopia. What you see here is not a tire repair shop. It is a shoemaker shop where they create custom-made sandals while you wait. They consider the sandal a tire. So, once you decide between a summer or winter tire, you hand over one of your used tires to the skilled sandal maker and have a seat while he makes you a brand new pair, just like the one you gave him. Even out the edges, attach a strap, and voila! It may not be a perfect fit, but it's nothing that can't be fixed. More than 50% of the people in Ethiopia are Christians. The priests, who take their calling very seriously, are well respected by the people, partly because they often visit their followers in their homes. Ethiopians believe that the priests of the Church of Our Virgin Mary of Zion have been safeguarding the original Ark of the Covenant. The Ark is believed to be very powerful. It is said that those who possess it could not be defeated in battle. It is also believed that its power enabled the erection of these gigantic tombstones known as stelae. The burial grounds of the kings of Aksum are breathtaking. In truth, it is impossible to state whether there are actual tombs beneath these stelae. Complete archaeological research has yet to be carried out here. In 1937, when the Italian fascists occupied Ethiopia, then called Habesh, their leader, Mussolini, had the tallest stele of all transported to Rome. It was installed in Rome on the Piazza di Porta Capena, only to return to Ethiopia 50 years after the war. The steles were carved in this very quarry, 4 kilometers from the actual burial ground. We will probably never know just how these massive slabs were transported and erected. For Ethiopia, that mystery is just another of its ever-present legends. In the rocks close to the quarry, there is an imprint of a lioness, the embodiment of evil. It is said that the Archangel Michael fought the lioness here, having thrown her against the rocks with such force that her imprint still remains visible. Here, below these steles, it is said that the Queen of Sheba is buried. Be it truth or not is not that important. What is more important for the people is their teff. Teff is a type of grain and a distant relative of barley. It is widely grown in Ethiopia and is the main source of nourishment. Injera, made from flour ground from teff, forms the basis of Ethiopian cuisine. The natives prepare it in their homes on special stoves. The people eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. While the wealthier people may consume it as a side dish with poultry or mutton, the poor must suffice with berbera, a hot spice mixture. Injera is eaten using only the right hand. It is a sign of good manners when the housewife places 2 mouthfuls directly in the guest's mouth. If she gave just 1 mouthful, it could bring bad luck. It is one way of learning not to be stingy. Another sign of good manners is to leave some food on the plate uneaten. This is meant to stave off poverty and hunger from the household. All the ingredients for making injera can be found on the market, including flour, spices, and scarce firewood. You can also find special turning spoons. The ones seen here are top-notch, made of wood. Spoons that are made of straw are more commonly used. After a good meal or to celebrate a job well done, a visit to the local pub is in order. Here, homemade beer, known as tella, is being served. It is usually made from barley or maize, or in this instance, crushed millet grains. Connoisseurs might be offended, but the guests appear satisfied. The innkeeper makes sure that the tella keeps flowing and that everything is in order. She makes certain she can be heard above the din. Very few people smoke, and public intoxication is considered taboo. Someone showing signs of inebriation will only be served water. This particular innkeeper lady is not to be messed with. She will punish the offenders, and it seems the locals are used to that. The uninviting basin seen here goes under the exotic name Queen of Sheba Spa. The Queen of Sheba and the wise King Solomon had a son by the name of Menelik. He was known to be a cunning man. After visiting his father in Jerusalem, he stole the Ark of the Covenant and brought it to Ethiopia. It has been here ever since. Bahir Dar is considered to be the most pleasant town in Ethiopia. Bahir Dar is located by Lake Tana, which empties into the Blue Nile sources. It is lush with greenery. See them? The ladies with their little parasols? Walking and bicycling are common means of transportation. The city of Aksum is the holiest place for Ethiopian Christians. But in Bahir Dar, there is a mosque. Approximately 30% of Ethiopians are Muslim. Women from the Waito tribe sell handmade baskets in front of the mosque. These women are famous for their basket weaving skills. They live in little handmade mud houses on the outskirts of Bahir Dar. Here they peacefully weave their baskets. The baskets are often used for injera. On the square, the skilled hands of local artisans are weaving other items essential for their everyday life. What could this be used for? Not an easy riddle, is it? Tie it all up together and there goes, all done. No idea? It's a tankwa, a boat made from papyrus. Papyrus is plentiful around the lake. However, we're not sure about its seaworthiness. The locals seem unafraid. They board the tankwa and fill it to the brim with sacks of charcoal. A 2-day trip with a live cow aboard the tankwa is not an exception. There are 37 islands on Lake Tana, and ancient monasteries can be found on 20 of those islands. Our destination is the Kabran Gabriel Monastery. It was built in the 14th century on the site of a pre-Christian shrine. Its final appearance was achieved 300 years later. Neither women nor the female of any animal species are allowed in. Not sure whether that rule applies to these spiders, but so be it. The Ethiopian Church claims that Jesus was a mulatto who came from Tunisia. They believe that he had a black mother and a white father. It is not surprising that given their unusual interpretation of the Bible, Ethiopians separated from the Catholic Church in the 5th century and formed their own Orthodox Church. The monastery houses many valuables. This book was written in the liturgical holy language in 1555. These royal crowns, gifts to the monastery, date from the years 1330 to 1670. It is a time for prayers. The sound of this stone summons the monks of the island, no larger than a big garden, to prayer. We return to the wobbly boat and watch the beautiful Blue Nile. We hear the call, Gumor, Gumor. Evidently, it has no meaning in language, but the hippos seem to understand the sound. Everything in Ethiopia is slightly peculiar. Goodbye. In today's episode of Unusual Cultures, we have visited two truly unique and yet very different places, the island of Mauritius and the country of Ethiopia. The only thing these places have in common is a slow pace to everyday life. Next time, we will head over to India, where a colorful culture with ancient traditions awaits us. We will travel from the shores of the ocean all the way to the rooftop of the world.